Welcome to Wing Academy Video, an extension of Wing Academy of Unfoldment. I'm your host, Diane Wing, and my show focuses on how to use spiritual concepts in the real world. We will address issues related to the mind, body, and spirit, discover how to release what holds us back, and ways to come into our power. Learn more at dianewing.com. Hello, everybody. I am so pleased to have as my special guest today Katie Gaynor. And Katie is the owner of Binding Agents, a culinary bookstore in Philadelphia's Italian market. She founded this in 2024 in Philly's culinary epicenter, the Ninth Street Italian Market. And the shop specializes in cookbooks, offering an extensive collection of contemporary and classic titles for experienced chefs, aspiring home cooks, eager eaters who hate turning on the oven, and everyone in between. Through the winding path of her career, spanning PR communications, hospitality, events, and the arts, she's been an avid home cook and devoted reader of food and other writing. She is honored to create community around these passions in our vibrantly delicious city. Katie's favorite people to cook for are her daughter Grace and her husband Matt. She lives in South Philadelphia. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you so much for having me, Diane. I'm so happy to be here.
Okay, so I love bookstores. I
Same.
I I love the smell of bookstores. I love being around the energy of books. And for people who are into food, to have a direct connection to what they love the most in a bookstore is amazing.
Yeah, it really is.
So how did you like decide that this is the path you were going to follow?
Yeah. Well, I always do like to say that I far from came up with this idea. A lot of folks are kind enough to say when they come to the shop that's the first, cookbook bookstore, culinary bookstore they've ever been to, that they've ever seen, which is such an honor and an amazing thing. But I am one of several thriving culinary bookstores across the country. A couple, few in this region in New York and DC, some great ones on the West Coast in San Francisco and LA, and Seattle. And the cookbook store in Seattle, Book Larder, is the one that was kind of the spark for me in my store. I was scrolling on my phone one day. I was sick in bed. I'd had to take the day off work. I was pretty, feeling physically pretty miserable. I was heartsick and grieving. I had just lost my mom a few months prior, and saw a post about an author signing at the Culinary Bookstore in Seattle, Book Larder, with J. Kenji Lopez Alt, who's a very well-known, online chef and creator. Has written two cookbooks, and he was on tour for this book, and he did a great event. And there was a picture of all the staff with Kenji, and everybody looked like they were having so much fun. And I remember looking at the picture and thinking, those people look like they could be my friends. And it was, in the sort of like the waning of COVID lockdown protections and all of that. And everybody felt so starved for community. And I just felt like, man, I wish Philadelphia had something like that. I would love to get together with other people who love to cook and get to meet some of these people that I admire, and have a space like this in my city. That would be so cool. Somebody should do that.
Somebody.
Somebody should do that. Shouldn't somebody do that? And I was laying there looking up at the ceiling, and I literally thought, oh no. Somebody should do that. It's me. I have to do it if I want it to exist. And, I'd had harebrained schemes and, ideas before, but my husband took me seriously right away. I said it to, I mean, later that day, I said, Matt, I realized I have to open a cookbook store. And he said, oh, yeah, you do have to do that. And I was like, what do you mean?
Nothing like immediate confirmation.
I know. And then my brother to, my best friend, my dad, everybody that I shared the idea with immediately said, "Oh, yes, you have to do that." And then gosh, I had to do it. So it took some time. It was from idea that moment to actually opening the store took 2.5 years, and I had my daughter in that span of time. But it really was born from the idea that I wanted a community to exist around food books and the people who make them and the people who love them. And I made the thing that I wished existed, and now here it is.
That's awesome. And food really is about community. It's about family, it's about community, it's
Mhm.
about sharing. Like I have a friend who every year with the Christmas card we get a recipe.
Yeah, that's cute.
So
I
it's
love that.
about togetherness.
Yes, I
Um,
agree.
and before I forget, guys, here is the website, and it is, here we go. Binding Agents, plural, Philly, Philly.
Yeah.
And she's got everything on here that you would want to know, events, and
Hmm.
you could shop online if you want.
Yep.
You can get on the mailing list.
I highly recommend that. That is the best way to stay up to date about what's going on at the shop, which is, as you know, sort of pursuant to what I was just saying, as much a community space as it is a bookstore. Great place to come and browse. And I love to, help you comb the shelf and find the solutions to any cooking problem you might have or any gift you might need. But as much as it's that, it's also a place to come together, meet authors, meet other, cooks and readers. We celebrate all types of books, not just cookbooks, although that's most of what we offer, but also fiction, nonfiction, and kids books around food. Yes, including one of our newest features on the shelf, which I'm so happy to have.
Yes, because Chef Jackie Pacina Kelly
Hmm.
wrote the amazing recipes that are in the
Hmm.
back of this because I wrote this and I sent it out to my beta readers, and the characters are eating in the
Yeah,
book, and everybody's like, "Oh, that sounds so good." Like I was so hungry after I was reading your book. And that's where I contacted Jackie and I was like, "Listen,
yeah,
I need recipes."
yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
so that's available now. Thank you for carrying it.
Oh, my
And
pleasure.
also for more hungry things, anybody
Yes.
who's interested in tarot,
Hmm.
there's a tarot deck for everything. I
It's true.
have I don't even know how many decks, probably over 70,
Mhm.
but this, I mean, the sauce is in the cards. It's just too funny
It's too cute. I love the
that
pasta tarot.
yes,
I really
they
do.
are.
Yeah.
And you you could pull cards on what to make for dinner.
It's true. Yeah. Whatever, yeah, whatever you need inspiration for, the Pastatero is here for you.
So,
I
yes.
I do love the Pastatero. It's been one of our most popular gift items. And that's another thing in addition to the books, we have gifts and goodies sort of for the table and about the table. No kitchen, no true kitchenware, no kitchen tools. We're lucky to be in the Italian market right down the street from Fonte's and lots of other really great shops where you can find your pasta maker and all of that. But we have spoon rests and the pasta taro and an herb stripper, like the
Oh, wow.
um, local ceramics and little stickers. This is one of shrimp cocktail, you know.
Oh, that is fun.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, one of our spoon rests by local artist Colleen Atani. So lots of little bits and bobs that kind of make a table more interesting and make a gift like a little something special for the people in your life who love food or love tarot or love
Hey,
reading.
it's gift shopping season, guys.
Yeah, it's
This
true. The
is,
time is
if you
coming.
know a cook, or somebody who just loves food, right? Check it
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Check it out.
Hmm.
So, you know, what was your most surprising when you open this?
Yeah,
And whenever you have a business idea, you never know what's going to happen.
it's true.
So, what was the biggest surprise or challenge that happened after you opened the store?
Yeah. So a lot of things. There were some ways in which I was more prepared than I expected, which is I'm an amazing gift, an amazing thing to find. I discovered so many of the tools that I had and the things that I had learned in my previous jobs, even though they weren't in book selling, served me well in this business, which was great. And I was surprised the extent to which, like, oh, I know how to produce an event. I know how to market like a program, those sorts of things. Things I joke about all the time. I was not prepared for how much time I spend thinking about recycling, breaking down boxes. Where do I put them? When do they go out? What's going on
Yeah.
with that? That's I spent a lot of time waiting for deliveries and sort of the logistics of managing the shop. I didn't expect that or spend a lot of time, on that in my business plan, certainly. And it is like a good portion of how I spend my day, which has become sort of pleasurable in certain ways. It's very physical. It requires like my presence of mind and like my physical presence here in the store, which is a big departure from the type of work that I was doing before. But the thing that has surprised me or like gratified me the most is just how eager, how not desperate in a bad way, but like in a good way, people are to be together. People just really want to be in community. They are seeking the opportunity to connect with people who share their interests, who share their values. And so the opportunities that I give people to come to the shop to really connect, whether it's through Cookbook Club, which is our monthly sort of potluck style event that we do around a cookbook every month, or I last week I had an event that I collaborated on with a local restaurant, Sammy Somi. We called it Snacky Hour, and we had it's a after work snacky hour spread of food, Georgian food and non-alcoholic drinks from the region, and just let people shop and eat and talk, and everyone was so happy because they just want somewhere to go. And that has been an enormous gift and pleasure and a real surprise is how willing people are to be vulnerable and put themselves out there to meet other people.
They want to go to a happy place.
Yeah.
Food is about joy,
Yeah.
and they want to be around other joyful people. The
Yeah.
world is very stressful.
Yeah.
And so this is a way to alleviate stress, to
Hmm.
connect with people, like-minded people,
Yeah.
about something that is happy.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. And you're just creating great energy
Yeah.
in not only in your shop, but in the area. I mean, good energy expands out
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
the other parts
Yeah.
of your place. So you're on Ninth Street, but
Yeah.
where on Ninth? Like, how can somebody
Yeah,
find
we're
you?
on Christian and Ninth, so right at that intersection on Christian on the west side of Ninth Street. So you can find us across the street from some other great local businesses, Blah Blah Gallery, which just opened, around the same time we did, and they have a new art zine and art bookstore called Et Cetera, Et Cetera. So we have a nice little sort of neighborhood collection of now bookstores in addition to Molly's Books and Records down on Ninth Street, which is a fabulous resource for used books and records, including used and antiquarian cookbooks, which we don't carry here at Binding Agents. So a really nice like neighborhood energy being created around books and people who readers and cooks too. So lucky to be in this amazing neighborhood and this food community that has so much history and passion. And I hope that when folks, come down here to find us, they find lots of other things to enjoy. And I know that people come here looking to enjoy other things and then find their way into Binding Agents, which is really special too.
Well, Jackie, Streets of Philly food tours
Yeah.
goes right by
Mhm.
your place, right into your
Yeah.
place, like, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The tours come into the shop. It's so cool. Yeah. It's really fun.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you're into a food tour, Streets of
Yep.
Philly
If you're
is a
into a food
great.
tour, I can't recommend Jackie's Tours enough. It's so great. You'll get a chance to stop in the shop, lots of other really great bites. That like whether it's self-directed or directed by an expert and, longtime neighborhood resident like Chef Jackie, I think there's so much to see in this neighborhood, which I wouldn't call really like it is a destination for a certain type of tourist, right? Like people find their way here. But there and it's awesome to be able to share with those folks who travel from all over the country and the world. But there's so much of like the the focus of the shop is really around the locals and the people who make their home in Philly, who make their home in South Philly, especially, but all over the city and the region, who are looking to kind of dig deeper roots and meet others and sort of support small businesses that make, I say all the time, small businesses make our sidewalks into communities.
It has
Even if,
such a specific vibe down there. Like
yeah.
it's vibrant. It's
Hmm.
it's like this is the kind of vibe
Yeah.
I
It's true. That's how I feel walking down through the market. And it is like it is, it has a really strong personality in a really great way. And it has evolved and changed with, new immigrant communities that have enriched the market and made it so special and vibrant. The Our Market project, for those who aren't familiar, is a great project, public art project and support project for the neighborhood is really great to check out. They've done some amazing work with murals and public art in the neighborhood, as well as video projects and documentation of the people who live and work here. And there's so much, it's so vibrant, it's so warm, it's so specific.
Yes. Yes, it is. And it's been there forever. Like I used to take my grandfather down there when he would come
Yeah.
down to visit. And
Yeah.
we're Italian and he would shop in New York, like
Yeah.
all the Italian stores in New York,
Uh-huh.
and he wanted to come to Ninth Street
Yeah.
and shop.
Yeah. Hmm.
And he just loved it. And he
Yeah.
loved, the whole, speaking Italian and arguing with the shop
Yeah.
owners in Italian
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so um the personality, you're right, is just so unique.
It is. Hmm. And
And
it really
you'll
is like
leave
an awe.
energized.
You do, absolutely true. And I also live in this neighborhood, and have for many years now. So it is really, it's a remarkable thing to get to be a part of the community and sort of the energy of the neighborhood in so many ways, and to get to, like when I close up the shop, I'll often walk down and pick up the last ingredient I need for dinner, whether it's at one of the produce stalls or, Anastasi's fish market or Esposito's at the butcher. And that's usually, I'm scurrying out the door trying to make it before they close. Or Claudio's if I'm out of cheese, or De Bruno's if I'm out of a different cheese. So many stops, and I really do encourage folks, like, to make a pilgrimage of it, or just to think about, where the things, not to, like, lecture as a small business owner. I have to hold myself back sometimes. It's so hard, but, think about the things that you use and that are in your home. Where are they coming from? Are they places that you're proud to say you bought them from? It's not always the case for me, but obviously, since becoming an entrepreneur and a small business owner, it's something I stop to think about all the time. If somebody asked me where I got that, would I be delighted to tell them and excited to share,
Mm.
a small business that they can support? Or did I order it online at, 11 p.m. without a second thought so that it could get here faster and I could have something, cheaper and kind of crummier? If I could get my cheese from Claudio's and support this multi-generational business that makes this neighborhood what it is, why wouldn't I do that? It might seem more convenient to stop at, this, that, or the other place. But what's the value of convenience? And sometimes we do need to get something done quickly, but sometimes we don't. And like sort of
Right.
the pressure of modern life to move so fast and to get things like as cheaply as possible and as quickly as possible, you're sacrificing something that you can't see when you do that.
It's
And I just
about
try
the
and,
experience. It's
yeah,
about the experience. Like you can't go food shopping in a regular grocery store and get the same experience
right, right.
because the shop owners there are very invested
Hmm.
in you having a good experience and you coming back.
Right, right. Or even as simple as, like, when we occasionally will, like, or like set up a grocery order for pickup. Now, like, the basics at my house that we need, because, I have a toddler, and so sometimes, like, doing a whole, like, a shop, walking through every aisle of the store isn't realistic. But if, somebody's picking out your stuff on your behalf at a regular grocery store, they're not paying attention to what they're grabbing. And often it's like not the best of the produce. And when I go to the stalls down here in the market, the guys who are like my pals and are so cool and so great, like are putting aside multiple options in favor of picking a better one for me. Like there's like as simple as that, like something. And when, I try to make the experience when you come to binding agents, I hope you find what you're looking for. I hope you find what you weren't looking for. I hope you have if you come to me with a question or a recommendation, my goal is that I have multiple options for you that I can share, and that we find a thing that's going to be a great fit for your bookshelf and for your life, or if it's a gift for, your gift recipient. I don't want to sell you another cookbook that you're going to look at and sort of regret because you're never using it and you wonder why you spent $35 on it. That's not good for my business. It's not good for you. It's not good for any of us. Waste is bad. That's not what
Right.
we're about. So I hope the experience here is like that too, that people feel taken care of.
Well, it's back to the connection, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's back to feeling part of and not just like brushed aside like so many times when you're going through your day.
Yeah.
There isn't always that solid feel of connection,
Right.
um, and caring.
Right.
And so, if you want to feel cared for,
Hmm.
this is a good way to start
Yeah.
if you're,
Yeah.
especially if you're a food person.
Hmm.
Um, and like you and I both love bookstores. I obviously,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
a bibliophile here, and
Mhm.
there are books all over my house because they're my favorite things, that and
Yeah.
trees. Um, but why do you feel bookstores and physical books feel important right now?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that a couple of reasons, particularly for cookbooks, I just don't think that we have figured out sort of a digital interface for cookbooks that
Yeah.
replicates the experience, in a way that really makes sense to me, and that is enriching. But cookbooks have so much that go into them beyond just the recipes and the words on the page. It's the cover art and the design and the pictures of the food and the pictures of sort of, like all the things that go, if it's a regional or culturally specific book, like the pictures of place and the context that sets up a book to make it really a pleasure to use. Folks are thinking about how it lays on your counter or whether you have to flip from one page to another. What's that going to feel like? It's not the same if it's on, your tablet. It doesn't, I don't feel like work quite as well. It's not as like vibrant, and I don't really enjoy that experience. And so I do think the physical there's nothing that quite replaces that physical book in the kitchen, and that it can get like splattered with, you're making you're making one of like, if you have, let's say you have trick or doggy treat in your kitchen because you're making one of Chef Jackie's recipes, and like
Mm.
you go back to reread in the future, you reuse it, and you see like that blot of, oil from the spaghetti with clams, or linguine with clams, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that time that I made it, and who was with me. All that's, these are like, these are artifacts of our lives that I think are really important. And some people like to keep their books pristine and no shade, but my cookbooks are disgusting. They're full of like crumbs and like crap. And I love that. I think that's great. So I
Yeah.
think it's important for that reason, just for the user experience is enjoyable. Um, but I think that again, like you lose when you give up the opportunity to engage with a physical space for a physical thing in the physical world, you are giving up an opportunity for connection every time.
Mm.
And but the Kurt Vonnegut, I'm sure you've seen this a million times. The Kurt Vonnegut quote that always passes around about going to shop for an envelope. And his wife is like, "Why don't you just buy 100 envelopes from Walmart?" And he's like, "But I want to go on my little walk and see the little dogs and talk to the little people." And I do think that coming to a bookstore and, talking to me, if it's mine, talking to other people who are there, seeing a book that you might not have ever, that wasn't on anybody's best of 2025 list, that you might, nobody would have like told you, no algorithm would have fed you, that you still are intrigued by, and what an opportunity to find out that you like something that somebody else hasn't told you that you should. It's so easy to
That's
just
such
fall.
a great point about the algorithm. Like you
Yeah.
can look for stuff. I mean, Amazon is a search engine,
Yeah.
and you could be looking for something and not really know. that, it's whatever's featured, it's whatever's sponsored.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
not necessarily what
Hmm.
would be the best option
Right.
that you could benefit from.
Right. I think that the hand that guides that stuff is invisible, and in a way that like I think we just have lost sort of the instinct to sort of think critically about it, of why would somebody want me to buy this product, or why would this system be telling me that this is the best one? There's not always a there's not if you can't figure out the reason, then it might not be a reason that you would like knowing, is sort of my like concern often. And so I think that being in a physical space where of course I have my own like biases, right? I'm not a perfect book recommender. I'm not a perfect shop owner. Nobody is or could be. I have my biases. I have the things that I like. I have the things that I don't know as much about. And I'm biased or sort of motivated by the fact that I do want you to buy a book that's helpful.
Sure.
Like it's good if you leave with something. I am motivated for people to leave here with something that they will love and that they want, that they will make use of, and that will be valuable to them. Not all sort of like the large scale entities share that same motivation. They want you to buy something, but what happens to it after that is immaterial. Um, yeah.
Right. Well, and
Very
it's really
soapbox.
important that you specialize too, because
Hmm.
I remember somebody gave me a gift certificate to Barnes and Noble, and I love bookstores. I love
Yeah.
bookstores. So
Yeah.
I'm in there for like a couple hours trying to decide what I wanted. But the not all of the authors that I wanted were
Yeah.
in there because they can't carry everything.
Everything.
They
Hmm.
can't. And
Yeah.
if you go into a specialized
Hmm.
bookstore, you have such a better opportunity and potential
Yeah.
to buy something that A, you're looking for, and B, you didn't even know existed.
Right.
So, like, I know that I've had books choose me.
Yeah.
I either it fell off the shelf, which
Hmm.
who knows why
Who
or how
knows?
that
Yeah.
happened, um,
Yeah.
or I'll be looking at the shelf and it lights up. Do you ever
Yeah.
have that happen?
Yeah.
It just looks brighter
There's just
than
like a
the
beam. Yep. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
so, ooh, what's that?
Yeah.
And so being there
Yeah.
in the physical, those kinds of things can happen,
Yep.
and they can't in any other way of buying books. They just can't.
It's true. It's true. And I have so much, I too love I love a Barnes and Noble. I have so many fond memories, and I have so much respect for general interest bookstores that have this
Yes.
enormous like pressure in the undertaking of trying to figure out, anticipating people's needs across so many genres and so many different, reading experiences. And I feel incredibly lucky to be in my little, my tiny little postage stamp of a store that can only carry so many things in just this really one specific lane. It does make it so much easier, but it is like what an amazing thing to now have, multiverse books in Chestnut Hill, which specializes in sci-fi and graphic novels, and genre fiction of that type. So many, the romance bookstore in Collingswood that opened not too long ago, and so many bookstores across the country that are specializing in romance, and the many sort of genre crossovers and subgenres in that space. Mystery specific bookstores, they're all over as well, and that there's just such a pleasure in, again, like the niche bookstore owners and the folks that I've met are so motivated by this idea that community exists around these things that we choose to buy,
Yes.
where we choose to spend our time. And it's so much easier for us to build that in a place that's true, that's dedicated to something that people already are connected to.
Yeah, lots of readers do have a preference for genre.
Yeah.
Some read across genres, and
Yeah.
I'm one of those just because I like reading in general.
Yeah.
But people do have a favorite genre.
Hmm.
And to go to a specialized bookstore like you just described and meet other people,
Yeah.
like you can find your tribe there.
You can. Yep. Exactly.
And
Exactly.
there are less and less places out there to be able to do that.
Yeah, fewer and fewer third spaces where we can and I think there's something, as much as I say, like, yes, I want the people who love food and feel, connected to food to come here and find the other people who feel the same way. It's also equally important to me that people who like never want to boil water also have, a reason to come here because maybe they love to eat and they want to, read about food or just to know that like there's, some of the things that intersect with the idea. This is how I sort of understand the world and think about sort of the history and like sociology and culture is food. That's how the lens through which I process things.
Yeah.
Um, Other people process things in a different way, and you maybe like a mystery helps to kind of give you sort of a guided structure around which to explore different themes and different experiences that we share. I had a guy come in one time and say, "Hey, I don't really understand why anybody would read food writing because don't you just feel like hungry?" And I was like, "Well, what are you into, man?" And he was like, "Film." And I was like, "Well, why would I read film criticism? I don't really like, I haven't seen the movie. Like, why would I read that?" And he was like, "Oh, yeah, great." He was like, "Thank you. Thank you for explaining that to me." And I was like, "No doubt. That was a great conversation. I had a great time." Because whatever your lens is, like it's powerful, but not at the expense of like blocking out everything else. And like you talk about like yourself, like reading across genres. I think that's so important too. To like expose yourself to the things like the Brussels sprouts that you maybe rejected before, and then all of a sudden somebody deep fried them and you were like, "Oh, wait."
So, I mean, you cook.
Yeah.
So, what books do you like to cook from right now? Because I'm sure
Mhm.
you transition over time and your
Yeah.
favorite changes and
It's so true. Yeah, people ask me often at the shop, like, what's your favorite cookbook? And I'm like, ever? I simply can't answer that question.
yeah.
So I'm always redirecting of like, well, right now, what am I enjoying this cookbook season, or what are we cooking with in my house? And the phase of life that I'm in is that, as I mentioned, I have a toddler, and my husband and I both work, and it's, the three of us in the house, and we're all hungry people. So I'm thinking about how to get dinner on the table 20 minutes ago, or meal plan for the week in a way that we can all kind of manage. And if somebody, like pinch hitting, like my plans change, I have to stay at the shop. Matt can execute dinner. If Matt's plans change and he's stuck at the hospital, I can, make it happen, whatever that may be. So we're cooking a lot from Julia Turshen's book that came out last fall, What Goes with What, which has been a lot of fun. We're cooking a lot of out of Ali Slagle's book, I Dream of Dinner, so you don't have to, which is all like quick and easy, fun dinner recipes. Comes together super fast, really creative, really interesting. We've been having fun on the weekends with a book called Salt, Sugar, MSG, which is by Calvin Ng, who's the chef at Bonnie's in Brooklyn. If anyone ever has a chance, is in the neighborhood of Bonnie's, I do recommend a visit. It is super delicious, but the book is awesome. So fun to cook with from home. One of the rare restaurant cookbooks. I wouldn't even necessarily say it's a true restaurant book, but one of the few books from a restaurant chef and a restaurateur that I think is like really pitched to home cooks in a home kitchen in a really fun way. So we've been enjoying learning how, like, getting our whole steamer setup going and making all kinds of fun Cantonese American dishes from his book. Those are a few recent favorites.
I love that you're using the word fun because I think for people who don't cook a lot and to look at a cookbook and some of those recipes can be intimidating.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ingredients, so
Yeah.
for somebody who would like to start making more flavorful things,
hmm
what is there like a beginning book that you would recommend to the audience?
Yeah, there's a few. It does depend sort of on like your tastes and sort of what type of food you like, but there are a few for beginners that I love to recommend a lot. One is Molly Baz's book, Cook This Book. Molly Baz is a former Bon Appetit like recipe developer and video content creator. She now does her own thing, but her book, Cook This Book, is geared toward getting comfortable in the kitchen, learning techniques. She has throughout the book QR codes that you can scan on your phone to watch a video of her chopping an onion or, prepping this ingredient, what it should look like. That sort of helps you wrap your mind and your arms around what she's asking you to do, which is so great. And the flavors are so inventive and exciting and different. It's not, like it's not basics like boiled chicken. It's basics like, smothered chicken thighs with, pita and yummy, delicious, jammy onions and stuff like that. There's a sweet potato cake in there, I think is just insanely tasty. So
Awesome.
that one is good and not too intimidating. I also love Mark Bittman's book, How to Cook Everything Basics, is great for people just wanting to build like a baseline repertoire. If you want to make, a few different soups, a few different meat dishes, a few different pastas, you'll get all the basics that you need and then lots of opportunities to vary things up based on what you have and what you like.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I think cooking is an important skill to have,
Yeah.
but to do it well, you need guidance. Unless you
Yeah.
grew up in a family, like my mother used to subscribe to Bon Appetit and gourmet
Hmm.
magazines,
Yeah.
and she would and everybody was always cooking in our
Yeah.
house. But unless you grew up with that,
Yeah.
you do need to understand like the basics like you were saying
Yeah.
and not get too complicated
Hmm.
and folks it's really worth it because it tastes totally different and you know it's in your food
Hmm.
and with so many food allergies out there
Yeah.
you want to make sure that you're very aware of
Hmm.
what you're eating.
Yeah, what's going in and what works for you and what doesn't. I mean, I like joke all the time. I did grow up in a food family. I learned to cook for my mom, and my mom's family had a, food business, an Italian deli in North Jersey when I was a kid, and when she was young. So there's a lot of food sort of in my history and in my background. But at the end of the day, like, I learned how to cook because I'm particular. I was a really picky eater and I wanted things the way I wanted them. And the best way to ensure that things were the way that I wanted them is I made it. And that's still the case today. I am no longer a super picky eater. I like, a wide variety of things. I eat all kinds of food and I love all kinds of food. But I'm still particular. I like things the way that I like them. And so I really got in the kitchen as an adult to make things the way I wanted them. And that like opportunity and that control is what appealed to me. There's lots of other reasons to cook, and none of them are better than any other. And some people cook once a week, and some people cook 5 times a week, and some people cook, 3 times a day. And all of that is great. I don't think there's any, reason to change your what works for you and what works for your household, but getting yourself in the kitchen to make something really the way that you like it is like one of the best things that I can recommend to anyone for both your mental health and just like enjoyment of
Yeah.
life.
Well, I have friends who are like it seems like it's a sport to them.
Yeah.
um they make so much stuff from scratch.
Yeah.
And not everybody's going to do that. I'm not saying that
Oh.
you have to, but
Hmm.
it's amazing what they
Yeah.
make and the
Yeah.
enjoyment that they get out of that.
Yeah.
And so it's important because I also feel like the energy of joy and love goes into the food.
It's true.
If you're not in the right frame of mind, I remember, oh my God, I was so sick one time with the flu, and I said, I need to make dinner anyway.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was the worst thing I ever
Yeah.
made of my life because
Yeah.
I wasn't feeling well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it wasn't just because I didn't combine the ingredients correctly. It
Yeah.
was because the energy that
The
was
vibe was
in it.
off. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
so keep that in mind. And another example is I had a student in I don't teach cooking, so that's not what the
Yeah.
student was about. But we were talking about energy, and
Hmm.
she said she got her grandmother's cookie recipe, her favorite cookies, and she made them and they didn't taste right.
Yeah.
And then she realized her grandmother used to sing and
Yeah.
smile and everything while she was making it. And when she
Yeah.
realized that, she changed how she
Yeah.
brought herself to the
Yeah.
cooking.
Yeah.
And there was the recipe, and it tasted
Yeah.
like her grandmother's.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. Yeah. It really does it makes a big difference. Sort of you put yourself in sort of the mindset of where the recipe came from. And whether they were cooking with joy or whether it was a specific cup they were using, like all of those things kind of contribute to the gestalt of the experience of cooking it and eating it. And that is one of the things that I love about food. And there's sort of lots of other ways to pick up on that and experience that through life, but this is the one that I like.
Yes. So we're at the end of our time, sadly. But what is going on at the shop that people might want to check out, and when's it
Yeah.
happening? And
Tons going on at the shop. We host multiple events per week, and it's worth checking out our website, bindingagentsphilly.com, which you saw earlier in the episode. For our events page, we have tons of author events coming up for the fall. That is the big cookbook release season. So we've got a ton of authors coming through in the next few weeks to support their fall books, from the new rules of dining out, which is tomorrow, to Dobra Dobra, which is about Polish baking, to Heartland Masala, which is about Indian cooking from a mother-son team based in the Midwest. So some really great stuff. An event that I think that folks who are watching this might particularly like is the Heart-Shaped Tin with Bee Wilson. Bee Wilson is a UK-based writer who's coming to Philly to talk about her new memoir, which is about kitchen objects, how they become powerful sort of repositories of memory, and why the objects that we use to cook with and eat with hold so much sort of energy and memory and importance in our lives as compared to objects of other parts of our lives and our homes. So that's going to be a great one, a really special author talk, and I'll be interviewing B, as from the perspective of we're both folks who have lost family members, and grief, and experience that through some of the objects that we hold on to and share with others.
Awesome. Bindingagentsphilly.com,
It's
folks.
great.
Check it
Yeah.
out. Go to the store and just feel the energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on.
Oh, thank you for having me, Diana. It was such a pleasure. Thank you.